it's 10:02, so we'll get started. Just a quick introduction about Salto, because we do more than just putting together those cool webinars. Salto is a configuration manager for Jira. With Salto, you can compare environments, track every changes, deploy between instances, so from sandbox to production, and vice versa, or even roll back when needed. So if you break something in production, you can always revert back to a previous version of your site. We are compatible with Jira Cloud, DC, JSM. We also work with a script runner, and Rachel just published a really good post about script runner and Salto. Um, so yeah, we offer a 30-day free trial. Here's the link to try it for yourself. And with that, I'll just leave the floor to Rachel and Alex. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Baptiste. Great to be here. So, hi everyone. Great to see you again. I'm Rachel Wright. I'm a certified Jira administrator and author of the Jira Strategy Admin Workbook. And Alex Ortiz and I are here today, partnering with Salto to talk to you about the seminal event of the year, Atlassian Team 25. It's hard for me to not say Summit because it was Summit for so long, for so many years. So I'm going to slip up and say Summit, but it's now called Team. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Pretty good. It's always a pleasure to be with the legendary Rachel Wright. So I feel honored to be here with you, Rachel.
Oh, well, I could say the same, but tell folks about you if they haven't seen your amazing The Jira Life
Uh,
podcast, your YouTube videos.
yeah. So I have a YouTube channel. I have a couple. I have a lot of things going on, Rachel. Let's see how much time do we have. I have a YouTube channel. Over 800 videos teaching folks how to use Jira. I think most people, if they've ever seen my face, it's usually because of that. I'm also the co-host of the Jira Life, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, all things Atlassian. Most recently, we had a chance to sit down for an hour and a half with Mike Cannon Brooks, CEO of Atlassian. So definitely check that out if you haven't seen it. And I'm also an author. I published, along with Rodney and a few other folks, the Atlassian DevOps cookbook. And so that one's kind of cool. And yeah, I do courses, I do trainings, I do consulting, I do basically if Atlassian does it, I'm there with them.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited about today's conversation because you're kind of like me. I mean, we could just talk about Jira all day long.
Yeah,
I never run out of things to talk about.
I
But
know, but
today
they're like they
here,
put a limit
yeah,
on us.
I know. We only have
Like
so
an
many
hour?
minutes.
Yeah, an
Yeah,
hour
that's all we
not
get.
enough.
That's all we get. But today we're here specifically to talk about some of the great announcements that came out of Team 25. And if you missed any of Team 25, you can catch the digital experience. The link is down below at the bottom. And I'll give you a little bit of an idea of some of the topics we're going to cover today. We'll talk a little bit about Atlassian's evolution, kind of where they've started and how now they're supporting even more teams. A little bit about their new experience. I'm calling it a rebrand. They haven't called it a rebrand, but so much has changed in Jira and in the applications that I think rebrand is an okay term to use.
I think they call
Also,
it a
we're going to
design refresh is the
refresh. Oh,
term.
that's a better word. That's a
A
softer word, a
refresh. Yeah.
refresh. Right, right. And if we have time, I've got some screenshots and we could take a little walk through memory lane to kind of show where we've come from and uh, how far they've come really since the beginning. And we'll also talk a little bit about AI, Rovo, the teamwork graph, and what that means for admins and reporting. And of course, we've got those new collection bundles that everyone's talking about right now. And then at the end of the presentation, we've got some resources to share with you so you can learn more. And of course, there's always a Q&A. So we're not going to go through slides this whole time, but if there's a slide I have that relates to what we're talking about, I'll pull it up in the background. So Alex, why don't you give us your impression of how you enjoyed Team 25 this year, and then I'll give you my take.
Well, enjoy would be an understatement because I call it my Super Bowl. I prepped a whole year for this. In fact, Atlassian, not to spoil anything for the end, but Atlassian did announce a Team 25 in Europe, in Barcelona, in about 6 months. And preparations have already begun. So we are already getting ready. And so it's the event. It's the event of the year, and it's so much fun, so much interaction, so much collaboration, so much networking, so much walking. I walked away more tired than I've ever been in my life, walking an average of 20,000 steps a day, but more excited than I've ever walked away from an event in my life as well.
Yep, I totally agree. If you have not been, you've got to go to at least one. The digital events are wonderful too. I think I've been to 7 in person and maybe 6 digital. You have to put it on your calendar. You have to get your boss to send you and pay for it. I wrote a little piece on my website about how to get your boss to send you. So just go
Yeah.
take that template. I think
And
Atlassian has one on theirs too.
next year it will be in Anaheim again. Dates are circulating, but it's going to be around the same time frame. But it's such a different vibe, Rachel. I don't know if you've been to the Vegas ones or not, but compared to
Mhm.
Vegas, I've only been to Vegas, and this time was the first time outside of Vegas. It was nice. Like people were sitting outside. There was lunches happening outside. There's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of team building outside of the expo because you weren't like in Vegas where it's like hustle and bustle and so many people. Like the area is secluded from tourism. And so you're kind of, there's the Disneyland crowd is out there, but it's not like in your face. And so there's a lot of opportunities to mingle and hang out. My wife and kids were with me at the venue. And so they came in, they were walking around because unless you go into the expo, unless you go into the sessions, like the securities are pretty relaxed, right? Like there's a lot happening outside of the venue, so lots of opportunities even outside to just enjoy that Southern California vibe.
Well, and I was going to say a lot of the value, at least for me. So the first year I went to Summit, or see, I'm good. It just rolls off the tongue. I went to Team. It was like 2013. There were like 1,800 people, and it was a small venue. And I just diligently put my head down. And I went to all the sessions and I took all these notes. And then I realized over the years that the real value isn't just being like a good student. The value is getting out there and talking to people. Even when you're an introvert, I'm an introvert, but I fake it for team. The value is all the other things that you take away that you can't really plan for, right? It's sitting
Oh yeah.
outside during the breaks in the sessions, like you're talking about. It's meeting the vendors in person and actually hearing from them. It's all those other little things that you can't really measure and you don't put in your agenda that I get tons of value from. And the
Yeah,
things I think of that just, oh, that's how I solved that problem, or you gave me an idea about how to solve a problem because we were talking in the lunch line, stuff like that.
yeah. No, I couldn't even tell you a single session because there was no room on my schedule to even go to sessions. It
Yeah.
was it was just collaborating, talking, networking, interviewing, chatting. It was literally a
Yep.
people first environment. And the only session I went to was my own because I had to be there because I was delivering the message.
Yep, absolutely. So I guess our message is if you haven't gone, make it in your schedule. Start,
Start saving up those
getting it in your
pennies.
bosses. Yeah, save up now, start getting it in your boss of the year now, get in your training budget now. It's
Yeah.
really worth it. And the Barcelona one is a ton of fun too. I've been to
Yeah.
that one as well, and it's great. It's a
Yeah.
different audience, a different feel.
Yeah. And again, Team 26 will be back in Anaheim around this time of the year. It's going to be a little bit later. I don't know if I can say the dates officially, but it's going to be a little later than this past 25.
So, how about we talk a little bit about Atlassian's evolution through the years? And that's a big subject, so I'll let you go anywhere you want with that.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. Do we got another slide for that? Because I think we're still seeing the Barcelona stuff.
Well, I was going to wait till what you talked about, and then I was going to jump to a slide for it. But we can do it the opposite direction too.
Uh,
Um,
no, I mean Atlassian has changed quite a bit, and so I think just to show, I think I joined Atlassian right around this time frame. It was 2016, and so I came into the data center world, and to me it was just server back then. And Atlassian, if you watch that interview with Mike, there was this period of time where like they call it like the great divide is what Atlassian was calling it, right? Or they have a specific term, but there was a moment in Atlassian's history where they had to make a call and they separated cloud from on-premise.
oh, the
And so
fork. Yes.
yeah, the great fork, yes. That would explain why our t-shirt is don't fork your code, not your customer. But yeah, the great fork happened and Atlassian went in two very different strategic decisions, right? But Atlassian in its humble beginnings, right, was a very product centric, very siloed, very independent. All the tools kind of were their own thing, and that's how they started. In fact, when I first entered the Atlassian ecosystem, I didn't like it. I came from the Team Foundation server world from Microsoft, where within my code editor, where I was writing code, I can see everything in one UI, one experience. But when I came to Jira, I was like, why do I need to go to Confluence, and why do I need to go to Bamboo, and why do I need to go to Fisheye? Like, why am I changing tools to do what I could do in one tool, with a competing product, right? And so Atlassian again was very segregated. So they've continued to evolve, and now I think they got on the right stride now.
Well, what I've seen, so I started using Jira as a user in 2011. And back then, the focus was just software development, right? And it was just product focus. And what I saw over the years was this evolution of, you know, setting a good example as a company, not just as a software development company, not just as a company that produces a product. They really kind of became a standout and a leader in how to run a business. And that's not something I expected from a vendor of mine, right? To be putting out team playbooks to help me improve how I work with my team. Yay, great, improve my software, but they're also trying to help me have a better experience in my
Yeah.
day-to-day job. And I thought that was amazing and really helpful.
And you see that primarily because of how Mike does this. So I actually asked Mike during this interview. I told him, "Hey, Mike, you built Jira. Like, there's stories that he would code Jira on that 17-hour flight between Sydney and San Francisco, right?" And I'm like, "Do you feel bad that you don't like this is not like this is your baby, right? You created it." And he's like, "Alex, my baby is the company, right? Like, I graduated from managing code to managing the people." And you show it shows that Atlassian really, it's like the machine building the machine type of thing, right? Like, Atlassian puts these playbooks out so that other people can see the greatness of how Atlassian runs their well-oiled machine, hoping to inspire others. Because another comment that was made, I don't remember who said it, but they recently acquired like a new CFO or something like that. And the comment that the CFO said, Atlassian is not like other companies. They're very unique in their culture.
Well, and we see that being part of the community, right? I've been part of user groups, for other development software, and it's not the same kind of camaraderie. It's not the same kind of atmosphere. The marketplace, like vendors are helping vendors. It's not a competition. We're integrating with each other. We're helping each other. We're, introducing each other to other apps that might be helpful. Like, it's just a totally different experience in this ecosystem, and I'm so grateful to be part of that.
Yeah. No, definitely a good, healthy, strong evolution of Atlassian from a very development centric to
Right.
what I'm assuming. I like to see Microsoft as Atlassian's biggest competitor nowadays, because Atlassian has shifted from this very, very like niche, making the best tool for developers to now making the best tool for enterprises. And I'm sure we'll get into it as we jump into Rovo. But Atlassian has a new North Star.
Right. And for the first time, I've kind of seen a shift. They've always kind of tried to bring in other teams, right? So with Jira Service Manager, for example, let's bring in support teams. And okay, well, now the legal team, they can use Jira Service Management too. And we start to see templates for customer service and for finance. And, it's kind of almost a retrofit, right? Let's let this support team use this tool that was built for developers.
Developers. Yeah.
Right. Always the focus is developers. And now for the first time, I'm seeing the focus is a well-run company in a holistic view. So that's very, very different. I feel like Atlassian is trying to be um, the suite of software for your organization, not software for your development needs and some other
Right.
needs over here too.
Which is again that analysis to Microsoft, right? Because Microsoft is the enterprise tool that you use for productivity with Excel, PowerPoint, Word, and whatnot, right? Outlook. And I see Atlassian positioning themselves not necessarily to replace those tools, right? I think there's always going to be a place for Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, but the
Mhm.
reach and the depth and reach of the tools, right? Jira is no longer going to be the developer's tool. Jira is going to be the
Right.
tool for everybody in your organization.
Right. Well, and we see that with some of the wording changes. I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but
Lots of wording changes,
yeah,
tongue twisters
absolutely.
almost.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then they have this whole concept of system of work, which I kind of love this philosophy that, um, you know, we need to be connected. No more silos, no more separate teams, no more double documentation. It should be one system, and the system should be a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, no, system of work is something that Atlassian, I first heard it at Team 24. They kind of mentioned it, but it was front and center. This was their opening act for Team 25. Like they came out swinging with system of work. And I believe system of work is very important for Atlassian for two reasons. One, Atlassian has 300,000 plus customers, right? Last year at Team 24, they announced that they had 300,000 customers. And so this year they didn't quite go to the 400,000, 500,000, right? They just said they had 300,000 plus. And I think that shows Atlassian kind of has my opinions, right, has kind of monopolized and kind of stagnated their growth and how many companies out there that do software development have Jira, right? Like almost everybody has Jira at this point if you're a software shop. But system of work goes beyond software, right? So it goes beyond
Mhm.
development, right? It's the whole business. It's the company, the business, technology, all of it, all working in hand. And so this makes sense to go towards new markets, right? And basically new customers that that haven't been exposed to Jira or have heard of Jira, but said it's too technical. It's not what we need. Well, again, so system of work kind of opens up Atlassian from that perspective. So that's one. Bring on the next 300,000 customers, right? But two, for your existing 300,000 customer base, those subscriber numbers are just usually those technical teams. So now this gives Atlassian an opportunity to, within those existing 300,000 customers, expand to that HR team, to that finance team, to that supply chain team, to that customer service team, right? There's just going to be a lot more teams that now become eligible to or incentivized to want to use the Atlassian tools.
Right. Jira is no longer the gateway product as I used to call it, right? Now it's a product that everyone can use. It's not just
Yeah.
something that your dev teams are going to adopt and then other teams are going to retrofit for their needs. It's now something that's really appealing to other teams as well. And I think that's huge. And what's that rule in business about being able to sell to your existing customers is much, much cheaper than having to acquire new customers. So
Right.
that's smart that they're doing that.
No, absolutely. And again, kudos to them for coming up with a system of work. But what exactly is a
Absolutely.
system of work?
What is your system of work?
Yeah, well, so so I think system of work is a it's gonna be it's easier said than done, right? Because while historically Atlassian has been with those development teams, those technical teams, those IT teams, we now want, or Atlassian, I say we, but Atlassian now wants the full pie, right? And so Atlassian's smart about this, right? They start at the top. Like the business has goals. Every company has to make money somehow, right? So
Mhm.
there's targets and objectives and goals and ambitions to try to hit those targets. But every year, or at least in all the companies I've ever worked in, there's like a big kumbaya moment. You figure out your goals, you figure it out, you disperse down to your teammates, and then 12 months later, you're like, where did we get there? Like, did we get there? Like, where are we at? And nobody can ever answer that question. And so Atlassian's kind of coming up with like, here's the end to end. We'll give you the goal down to the individualized item that delivered on that goal. We're going to give you the full gamut and you'll be able to see the whole thing. So it's a big shift. Again, I think it's going to be easier said than done. I think from Atlassian's perspective, it's easy because culture and Atlassian rocks, but 100,000 person companies might not, the transition might take a while.
But it's nice to see that the upfront piece of the puzzle is now being supported. For example, the planning aspect, right? So in Jira, you're already halfway through the life cycle of an idea when it gets to the development team, right?
Yeah.
The marketing team has already done all the upfront work. The product team has already done the research. And then Jira comes in for the dev team. So it's nice that now there are tools available to catch that upfront work that just wasn't there before.
Yeah, no, definitely. They're capturing the full cycle as opposed to, like
Yeah.
you said, capturing at the middle of the cycle.
Yep. It's a good way to
Yeah,
say
because
it.
by the time something made it into Jira, it was like way too late.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and it was also interesting in their evolution. They talked about the new cloud offerings. I'd love to hear your opinion on
Yeah,
these new.
so this is huge. This is huge for Atlassian.
Yeah.
Most people might not appreciate how huge this is, but for Atlassian, this is a huge enabler because Atlassian actually goes out and talks to their customers and tries to understand their customer problems, right? And Atlassian, since the great fork that we discussed a few minutes ago, Atlassian's been in an uphill battle, right? Since the fork, They were able to convince whoever they convinced to come to the cloud, they got them onto the cloud. And here we are, April, almost May of 2025. And at this point, whoever went to the cloud has, or whoever had intentions to go to the cloud is in the cloud. Everybody else is sticking around the data center. And from Atlassian's perspective, you can see them that they're only innovating in the cloud. Everything that we're going
Right.
to talk about today is happening only for the cloud. And so that leaves Atlassian in a tough spot where they still need to maintain this legacy group of folks that exist. And one of the biggest reasons why those folks can't move is data security, data privacy, data residency, right? It's they need to have tighter, better control of their data. And when things are in the cloud, you lose a little bit of that control. And so Atlassian's coming out swinging with two major deliverables here. And the first one's Atlassian Government Cloud, which is going to be custom tailored and focused primarily for United States. Is at least what Atlassian said. I'm sure it's going to work for other governments around the world. I don't know if other governments around the world are as picky as the U.S., but the point is the United States government, and again any other government that I would assume it wants to be there, will have a sectioned off private cloud type of thing where they can go and it's FedRAMP moderated or FedRAMP approved, and it's going to have all the security that you need from that perspective, right? Again, DoD level. Then you got the other group that just they're like, well, we don't want to share our data with other competitors or other places, right? So Atlassian's like, we got you. We got the Atlassian isolated cloud, which is going to be a segregated cloud that's not part of the commercial cloud, and you kind of have a little bit more control as to where you roll that cloud out. So, and the importance of this is that Atlassian is basically telling their customers, at least their data center customers, we hear your concerns, we hear your roadblocks to get to the cloud. Here's our best way to help you get there to the cloud. And this is one of the many steps.
And I've seen a shift in my customers. So at the beginning, there were kind of real reasons that they did not want to go to the cloud. And so Atlassian worked hard to address those. And then there were the perceived reasons, which were maybe more structural or maybe more specific or maybe more just procedural reasons that they thought they couldn't. And now with the isolated cloud, I think Atlassian has addressed a lot of those. So what, for those who won't migrate, what's left? That's the remaining question.
Yeah.
What is
And
stopping you?
and I don't want to sound like a broken record or not appreciative of Salto putting this out, but again, we asked Mike this very question, right? And we basically asked him like, is there an end date for data center? And his answer, while he didn't give us an official date, was along the lines of like, look, at this point, we reached a point where customers don't have an excuse to not move to the cloud. It's an internal affair, right? Each customer is now dealing with their challenges, their cultural problems that they have to figure out how to get to the cloud. But there's no more technical
Yeah,
roadblocks
it's that
to get to the cloud.
perceived,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And so
So
Atlassian's like, at this point, we've done everything we can, and it's going to be on them. And I mean, Atlassian's making things more expensive, right? They're obviously not getting any of the new features. So there will be a point where they're going to have to pick. And let's face it, Jira still doesn't have a worthy competitor either.
mhm. Okay, so next up, you want to talk a little bit about, we'll say refresh, which is your better word than my word, rebrand. You want to talk a little bit about some of the new things that were rolled out recently?
Yeah. So Atlassian changed a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
They moved all the buttons. And I don't know if you know Robert Heen. I love Robert Heen. He's a Bay Area local here. And he probably put it best to describe the new Jira refresh. You simply tilt your head this way, and you got yourself the old Jira.
It's cute. I like that.
They basically took whatever was at the top, moved it to the side, and whatever was on the side, they moved it to the top.
A little
And
bit.
and that's if I had like give it to you in a nutshell in 2 seconds or less, right? That's what they did. But it goes beyond, right? It goes a lot deeper than that. The consistency across apps, I think, right in the middle, right? This Atlassian design system is very integral, right? Atlassian expects folks to not just work in one tool. They expect folks, if you go back to that rainbow diagram that you had, right? They
Mhm.
expect all the teams to work across all the tools, not just one. And so having a consistent experience of a consistent design language across everything is going to be key so that you don't feel like, wait, where am I at? What is this? Why does this work weird, right? And so everything's kind of in the same language. Unfortunately for us, seasoned veterans of the UI, where I don't know about you, Rachel, but I can close my eyes and I can tell you where every button is in that
Yes,
UI,
I can too.
right?
Well, I could until half of my apps
Yeah,
changed last week. Yeah.
right. Yeah. Now they move all the buttons on you, but yeah. So the UI's changed. The icons have changed. I love the new icons. By the way, they're one of my favorite things. It feels poppier. It feels more modern. It feels fresh. It's consistent. I don't like it because they moved everything on me. But if you're new to Jira, you're gonna love it.
You don't know any better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I made a
But yeah,
list of some of the bigger changes that we've seen recently.
yeah, and I think that a big takeaway too, as I'm seeing your universal create button, one of the things that I noticed that really stands out to me is the importance of search. I'm sure we're gonna get to it here in the next 10, 15 minutes that we have left, but Rovo plays front and center of this entire experience, right? And in fact, I also had an opportunity to sit down with a bunch of head of products, but one of the folks that I sat down with, Atlassian's design language is they're in an interesting another fork that they're in, right? Instead of designing for just a user, they're also designing for agents, right? Rovo's
Good
an
point.
agent, and so Rovo will be doing tasks on your behalf, and so um, there's going to be opportunities here where the UI is optimized for an agent-based experience as well. And so the search, right? You're gonna basically go to Atlassian's expecting you to go to Jira and just ask, what is the status of this? Where's that? Why is this blocked? Where are we going with this? What do I need to fix today? Right? Natural language, and then Jira will bring you back answers with the power of Robo, right? And so you see that in the new UI where the front and center, the biggest real estate is that search power in the middle.
Mhm.
Now, as far as Robo demos, I know this question just came in. I just wanted to address it real quick for April. Atlassian, I heard this week we'll start rolling out Robo to premium and enterprise customers. And so I haven't received it yet, but the moment I receive it, you can bet that we're going to be making videos on Robo. Robo has been very privatized. Very few people in the world have been able to use it. I don't know, Rachel, if you've had any insights to it, but I haven't, and I'm excited for like the next week or two when hopefully, fingers crossed, I get access to Robo.
Yeah, I'm just waiting too. We're all waiting.
Yeah,
And I
it's coming
know,
soon.
yeah, and the standard folks will get it too. So people with paid products will get it as well. Just they're doing premium and enterprise first. Michael had a good question in the chat from earlier. Is the content at Team 25 in California and the content at Team 25 in Spain the same? So one year I went to the US and I went to the Barcelona conference in the same year. And I found the content was very different because the audience was very different. Their needs were different and the way that they treated their data was different. So while the announcements were certainly the same, the approach was different. And of course, the vendors will be different. Different people will travel to Barcelona because it's closer to them than California. So I
Yeah.
think it's still worth going if that was the root of your question.
My experience from last year from 24, because I went to Team 24, but I didn't go to Barcelona, but Rodney gave us a deep dive, is at last, so in typical Atlassian fashion, everything that we talk about today will be available in the next 10 to 12 months. They wait literally until Team 26 to like release these things. This UI update that is being rolled out now was announced on May 1st, 2024. Okay.
Yeah.
And here we are on April 30th or 29th, and we're barely getting it now, right? So what I see the difference between Team 24 US and Team 24 or whatever Europe and US is that since there's a 6 month delta, you now get the latest updates on the newest direction on where Atlassian's going with these products. So they'll talk about Rovo, but they're going to talk about, okay, we now have Rovo in the hands of customers. Rovo is now there, and now you get to hear the next step in the evolution of whatever announcements they had. So because 6 months from now they'll be a lot more polished or a lot more finished than they were just 3 weeks ago.
Well, since you brought up Robo, I suspect that's what everyone here wants to hear about.
Yeah, let's talk about Rovo. So Rovo was front and center. Rovo was very important. And Rovo is included. This is the biggest takeaway. I think a lot of people stopped listening once Atlassian said. And also, I want to know, Atlassian did not say. I mean, they did say $0, but they're not. It's not free, but it's included in your price of premium, standard, premium, and enterprise versions of Jira with premium and enterprise getting it first. And so if you're paying for Jira in some capacity, you will be getting Rovo, whether it's Jira, Confluence, or JSM. And this is huge. Rovo, I think I'm very, very excited for, and it's something that's going to disrupt. I think disrupt is the appropriate word here, the market. Now, fun little fact: did you know, Rachel, that Rovo was announced at Team 24, US?
Yeah, I do remember. Yep.
And so, in a 12-month period, there was little to no development on the Rovo front.
Well, not that was announced that we saw. I'm sure they were doing
Right.
things.
Well, because Atlassian came out swinging with 22, I think it was $20 or $24 per user per month to get Rovo. And
Yeah,
so not a lot of people
that's
were
expensive.
happy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's an added a significantly added on cost to your existing Jira plans. If you have 5,000, 10,000 users in your organization, that's a very expensive extra bill that you get now. So
Yep.
Atlassian is driving adoption now, right? So they kind of changed their tune at Team 25, and they're like, you know what? We just want people to use Rovo because I feel like I compare Rovo to like Apple's walled garden. Have you ever heard of the coveted Apple garden?
Oh, sorry. I sold my soul to Android and Google.
Did you? So Apple has this cool thing where if you have your Apple Watch and you have your iPhone and you have your Mac, they're all interconnected, right? They're all interoperable, and so you can receive a message on your watch and type back on through your Mac, right?
Oh, okay.
And
Mhm.
so it's all interconnected, and so it's hard to leave. It's hard to go to an Android device or to a Microsoft laptop because that interoperability experience is unique to just your Apple devices. And I feel like Rovo is going to do this for Atlassian because they're making it out free, again in air quotes free. People are going to get a taste to what it feels like and what it is to have Rovo enabled in your products, and the productivity gains you're going to get back from Rovo. So if and when Atlassian starts charging for Rovo, you're going to have to pay for Rovo because it's going to be so naturally embedded and interweaved into your day-to-day processes that you're going to need Rovo.
They're addicted.
Basically, it's Rodney likes to call it like basically Atlassian's doing like they're selling you something that's very, very addictive, right? It's going to really help.
Well, and I like that they found a way to introduce new users to their products with this non-user pricing. It's smart. It's another way to get teams that don't use the Atlassian stack as customers. So I think that's a smart way to do it.
Well, this is key. This is key for that teamwork graph that we kind of glanced over earlier. That teamwork graph plays a critical role in all of Robo working together. So Atlassian's future, right? The vision that they envision is if Rachel, let's assume you and I are on a team together, right? Every document you've ever doctored, right? Every Word document, every Excel file, every email that you've written, every Slack message that you've ever done, every code commit that you've ever written, right? Every PowerShell script or every script that you've ever coded, right? Anything, all of it. Rovo knows about it because it's
Mhm.
tied to you as an individual, as a team member of the team. And so you want not just your paid users, but then you're going to want any non-paid users to also be a part of that experience so that when I have a question about a CEO and we're trying to figure out, well, what does the CEO want from us for this quarter? What's easy because even though the CEO may not have a Jira account, they might be paying for that Robo non-Atlassian user and be able to then add them into that teamwork graph and have access to that information.
Data.
So
Yeah.
makes sense. It makes sense from a data perspective. This is going to be
So
huge.
I think so. I really do. I wonder about what do you do when you have bogus data, bad data, old, outdated data? How is Rovo going to know what's the
You,
good stuff to report?
you're you're nicer than me. I was saying like, what are you going to do when you have a disgruntled employee who like injects bad data on purpose?
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, that happens today. So you could ask the same question. How do you handle that today? And I
You
guess
know,
the answer might be the same.
I've been asking everybody this question because I'm very concerned about that too. But Dan, there's a gentleman who started Adaptivist, a Dan H something rather, or was it Adaptivist at least? And I asked him that same question, and he said that it won't matter because ultimately, the noise is gonna the bad signals, the bad data will be filtered out because it's cross-referencing all the other data. So if you have one bad piece of data somewhere, it's going to get cross-referenced with like 100,000 other data points that'll validate whether it's true or not, because it's all interconnected. So you might have a bad PowerPoint with bad data, but there's going to be email chains that have the correct data. And so you'll be able to like compare and contrast. And another,
So let's, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking of my personal use case right now. So I'm going through all of my documentation and all of my training materials, and I'm updating every instance of issue to work item and issue type screen scheme to work type screen scheme. If I were to connect all of my applications and all of my work right now and ask a question, it might not be able to answer it because it doesn't know work item, and it doesn't appear very many times. But, you know, it doesn't appear that often yet. So I wonder how it handles those kinds of situations. And that's
Yeah,
a
no,
self-serving example, but I'm going
yeah.
through it right now.
So the point, so first of all, yes, Dan Hardiker. I'm horrible with names and faces. Um, but I think what's important, and you hear this from Atlassian leadership a lot, because I had an opportunity to speak with a lot of Atlassian leadership, and Atlassian leadership is not unleashing Rovo to the wild and just go forth and prosper. Here's Rovo. Atlassian is coining. I don't even know if they're coining the term, but they're using it a lot, and that is human AI, right? It's you still
Mm.
have to have the human. Atlassian's expecting the human to be a very much part of the equation in this AI driven world. And so they expect the human to validate, they expect the human to review, they expect the human to confirm the AI generated results, right? And so however they do it, whatever they plan on doing, again, I don't have Rovo yet, so it's kind of hard to estimate. But I would assume that Atlassian is working a way where humans can review and maybe even teach or create author or create agents that go in and update all the work items or all the issues to work items for you, right? But Atlassian definitely sees the human aspect of it as a key contributor to the equation.
I have a question for you. So we connect all of our different software, right? We've got all these examples of software that can be connected. And then we start having agents and AI help us with our work. What should we tell other Jira administrators about the health of their employment? I get this question a lot. I have an opinion. Are you worried about AI taking over your job?
I spoke with Mark Kruth about this at Team 24 last year, and I was like, "Hey, Mark, there's going to be a moment where workflows aren't going to need to be done by you or me, Rachel, right?"
Mhm.
And so the answer he gave me, which I really really liked, which is I think that the role of the Jira admin will shift from tactical to strategic, because there's going to be a right way and a wrong way to roll out agents. There's going to be a right way and a wrong way to still create projects, to still turn. Because here's my biggest fear. It's not the job security, because I think job security will be there for me. But what I fear the most, what I think is going to create the most amount of overhead or work for me is because we're enabling everybody and anybody to be able to use the Atlassian tools. That's going to bring in new perspectives on how work is done. With the way Jira has been today, most technical, and I might stereotype here a little bit, right? But most technical people tend to think a little bit more, not the same, but at least in the general direction, right? Like the the current user base of Jira is I don't know how to say this like without getting myself in trouble, right? But the idea here is that there's a way to use Jira today that makes sense and that's kind of governed and like very publicized, right? Like most people, you
Don't
and I
follow the
might,
template. Yeah.
yeah, we'll use Jira very similarly, right? But
Yeah.
when you open up Jira for an entire organization, there's so many new
Mm.
perspectives and so many new ideas. There's this team managed project stuff, right? Rovo's gonna do stuff for us, and there's just gonna be so many new interpretations for how to do work. And I think that's where the shift of the Jira admin comes in, where you have to kind of help people understand how to use the tools correctly, not do the actual work themselves. So I think the role shifts to a more strategic thought leader than it is a tactical Jira like workflows at a status. So if you depend on your job to just strictly be adding statuses to Jira, I think
Mhm.
you should be worried. But if your job is should you add that status to Jira, I think you're gonna have a bright future.
Right. I agree. You're totally right. And I remember I got the same question when cloud launched. People were like, oh, we're not going to need Jira admins anymore because now it's in the cloud and Atlassian does it all for you. And obviously that's not true.
Yeah.
So we have a good question in the chat. April asks, is Rovo just going to be turned on, or will admins be able to turn it on ourselves and learn and get familiar with it before turning it on for our users?
I haven't seen, but if I were to see anything that Atlassian has done historically, there's going to be a toggle for you to turn on or off. And I would
I
assume
haven't
that you're going to have
seen.
an opportunity to do it in the sandbox as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen yet either, but
But
I'll be on the lookout because
yeah,
it's a great
but
question.
even Atlassian Intelligence was a toggle, right? And but I will also say it's going to be phased, right? Where maybe the first 6 months it's a toggle where you have control. 6 months later, you're getting Robo.
Yeah, whether you like it or not, like the new issue view, like the new transition experience, like the new nav, eventually you get it.
Yeah,
Yep.
because you have to, right? Atlassian has to push everybody into it too, because then you have too many forks of your code at that point, too many different
Yes,
systems to
it's
maintain.
got to be hard to maintain.
You got to embrace it. You're gonna have to embrace it at some point. So right now you have control, and I suspect at the beginning you'll have control, but 6 months from now, every new year, I would say that every new premium customer will have Robo out of the box. They won't even know what it means to have it off.
Yep.
The
We've also
collections.
got yes, I'm excited about the new collections. It's a new idea. I like seeing that.
I'm excited about Teamwork Collection. I'm still on the fence with strategy, mainly because I don't
I
know how much
liked,
strategy costs.
no, I don't either, but I like strategy because it's the first time we've seen a bundle or a product that is not at all for software developers, right? It's for the business as a whole to function. And I think that's very useful. I mean, it's for work, it's for goals, it's for talent, it's for funding, and in nowhere does it say and fixing bugs and developing new features. So I think as a company to watch them evolve, creating products like that, even Jira product discovery, right? That's not a whole lot about development at all. So I think that kind of
Yeah.
showed the shift they're taking, and so that's exciting that they're reaching out to new audiences like that.
One little thing, I don't know if you saw that, but that third yellow icon there is missing a word.
Where are we looking? Align?
Under
Oh,
under the strategy
uh,
collection.
Align instead of Jira Align.
Yeah, so Atlassian, Anu mentioned Jira Align for 1 second, and after that it was straight Align. So I welcome that change because Jira Align was never Jira, and so it
Well,
looks
it's
like
just
that.
part of, good.
Yeah, no, it just looks like Atlassian's embracing the fact that Align serves a different purpose than Jira traditionally does, and it's just going to be part of the strategy collection. It's just going to be aligning your team.
And it's a part of their bigger focus. So I think that's smart.
Yeah.
Just
Now
like
price though,
goals.
I want to see price because as you know today, Jira Align is not the cheapest Atlassian product. In fact, Jira Align is probably the most expensive product that Atlassian has.
But I think the teamwork collection at the top, I think that's an amazing, it looks like that's probably an introductory price. I think it said starting at $15 per user per month. But that's quite compelling, especially
Not
for,
only that, but it looks like it's for new. I would assume that it's for new
that's what I'm
because
guessing,
I don't see it anywhere for my existing one because I would gladly Jira Premium $17 by
right?
itself.
I'm
So
guessing that's to attract a new audience. I'm guessing we're not their target market on that collection.
but the teamwork collection makes sense, right? So Atlassian is envisioning again going back and putting Rovo back into the equation. They're envisioning a scenario where all of it comes together for one low price and it just seamlessly works. Again, that walled garden we were describing earlier. And so the idea, the general concept is you're going to be in a meeting just like this. There's going to be a transcription that is made. We're going to have a robo agent that grabs that transcription, right? Maybe even goes into Loom and extracts key moments from the meeting, creates Confluence pages for us. And then there's action items like Rachel, make sure that you add a new agenda item for tomorrow's meeting. And then immediately that Rovo is going to pick that up and put a Jira ticket and assign it to Rachel. Just like
So
that. Like
I'm
you don't
really
have to do anything.
excited about that. Yeah, not having to do all the extra administrative work. So if you remember, I don't know if you remember this far back, but we had Stride, which was a chat client. Then we had HipChat, which
I
was a
remember
chat
HipChat.
client. And then we have Loom. And I think they finally got something with, and I love them all. I used them all. I hated Skype. I was like, give me anything but Skype. So they've always kind of been dabbling in this real-time chat, async way to share information. And I've been really excited to see Loom. I haven't used it a lot myself, but the idea that I don't have to do the meeting notes, I don't have to create the bugs. If my developer has, submitted a movie showing the screenshots of what's going wrong, just the idea that that can be done for us, and then we can save our time for more important activities. I think that could be huge. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited to play with that more.
Yep. No, it's I'm very excited for this teamwork collection. If you're a new customer to Jira, you're gonna love this.
Yeah, I think so too. A great entry price too. A great way to get people in.
Yeah.
We've got
And
some
also, I know
extra
we're running out of
questions.
time, but I wanted to
Mhm.
run last thing about Robo. While it is included, there will be usage limits that Atlassian is now starting to publicize a little bit more. So you won't be able to go crazy with Robo, and Atlassian expects you to kind of behave yourself with Robo. Otherwise, you're going to start paying a little bit more.
Kind of like automation, right? You can build as many rules as you want, but the executions are what's counted.
Yeah.
Same idea. Yeah. We have two questions in the chat that I don't know the answer to, but Alex, maybe you go. How does Rovo handle private information like credit card numbers and confidential enterprise information? Do you know?
So my understanding is, if you can see it, Robo can see it for you as you. So if you can see confidential PII stuff, you because you have it, then Robo has access to it, because whatever you can see, it will see on your behalf. Now, if you have HIPAA or anything like that, there's a separate contract or agreement you can enter with Atlassian that kind of masks things differently. But I would assume Atlassian's building some safety nets into it. But the general rule of thought, Atlassian hasn't said anything beyond whatever you can see, it can see. Because the same idea comes with APIs and stuff, right? Like if you have tickets with that information, your API is going to be able to grab a get and a put. So I would
Right.
assume it's the same behavior that you would have at the API level.
But it doesn't necessarily spit that data back to your users, right? Just like in Jira, the data's there, but there's a
Right,
check,
but if
like
a
just an
user that
example.
if I put in a bunch of credit card information and Rachel, you ask Robo, hey, what is the latest credit card information that I have from my end users? If I
Mhm.
didn't share that information with you, Robo won't return it back to you.
Right.
Robo
That's what
will
I
only
expect.
return
Yeah.
you back what you're allowed to see.
Right. The robo can see it. I just can't see it.
Right, right.
That's how I understood it too. All right. We have a poll about today's session. Thank you very much. I'm sorry we're out of time, but we really enjoy, we could do this all day. So
I
we
know.
really enjoyed sharing some of the insights from Summit. Sorry, Team 25. Yeah,
Team,
it's
team.
never gonna,
Yeah, I
it,
never
it
been to a summit. For me, it's always just been team.
it's always gonna be issues. It's always gonna be Summit. I'll work on my terminology. But thank you all for coming. We appreciate your participation and thank you for answering the poll.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you, Rachel, for jumping in on this with me.
Absolutely. And of course, we want to thank Salto for being our sponsor today. And of course, if you haven't already, please sign up for a free trial and try it out. They have a version for cloud and data center. And it's the best way I've found to get insight into my configuration, especially in cloud where you're totally blind otherwise.
Yeah. And where mistakes get made a lot, and there's no undo button.
I've never made a mistake.
No, you never
No,
accidentally deleted a status that you needed back, or accidentally deleted a workflow that you needed.
and never in production.
I only
Never.
work in production, so Salto saves my butt.
Yep.
Oh
All
well,
right.
this was fun. Baptiste, you're
Thank
back.
you. Yeah. Thank you, Rachel. Thanks, Alex. If you have a minute, fill out the questionnaire, and other than that, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Rachel, again.
Bye.